recording.
All right. Same.
The same. It's Wednesday, December 21st, 2022. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about those holiday cartoons and holiday animation. Put a little marker there. So it's right on the edge of the temperature where I can just bike home from work on like a city bike instead of taking the subway when I have to go in. So I biked home today, and it's right on the line of being able to do that without wearing like gloves and a ski jacket and like kitting out for it.
Well, today, the weather for today was between 28 and 42 Fahrenheit.
It was like 37 when I biked home.
All right, so right in the middle there, right? So it's going to get Thursday and Friday, right? Tomorrow and the next day are going to be warmer, right?
Yeah. Well, because one of the bigger storms to have ever formed in North America is forming right now.
Yeah, there's a big storm coming. It's supposed to only rain on us, but in parts north of us, it's going to snow, right?
Yeah, but
they postponed hockey in Buffalo because it's going to snow, right?
Oh, yeah. This basically is hitting America.
Too much for Buffalo. Right?
It's hitting America at a specific holiday time that's basically going to completely ruin a huge number of Americans' travel plans, which might be good in terms of, this last, hopefully, wave of COVID.
I don't know.
Nobody can get anywhere.
But anyway, that's Thursday and Friday. And then you got Saturday, which is the day that Christmas Eve is on, right?
Yep.
And it's like, that's after the storm. But what's going to happen is right after the storm is over, right? As a Friday after the storm passes over, the other pressure system's going to come in, and it's going to be cold AF. We're talking 13F, right?
Yeah.
Which is, for you other people, -10.5 C.
Yeah. Which still is fine. I grew up in Michigan. As long as the F number is above 0, it is still reasonable. Like, you just got to wear a thicker mitten instead of a glove, and you can deal with it. But when it gets close to...
It's not Antarctica. It's not like you're going to be, some people might be in danger out there, but it's just going to be really cold.
Well, I guess with Fahrenheit...
It's going to stay really cold for quite a while.
The useful part of Fahrenheit, other than the fact that about 1 degree Fahrenheit is about like a temperature difference a human could notice in the ambient temperature... When it gets near 0, that's where salt freezes. That's why Fahrenheit's weird compared to the rest of you, because Fahrenheit sets 0 when salt water freezes. But that's actually a really important line, because below the point where salt water freezes is also the point where human skin freezes faster than you would think if you don't know. It's not an obvious danger to people who haven't grown up in cold places. Like, that is where walking around the block could be dangerous as opposed to just very uncomfortable.
Point is, it's about to be cold, and even it's already cold. It's going to get colder where we live.
And with climate change, these kinds of wild swings are going to be more and more common. So last weekend,
we just get we changed all these terms, right? We started off calling it global warming, and then we changed.
Well, it is global warming. In the end, everything gets warmer, but there are temporary periods along the way.
Already, stop the cold.
So. We skied at Hunter Mountain on Saturday, and they had like over a foot of fresh, beautiful powder, like top 20 ski days in the history.
Because it was cold and they made fake snow?
No, it was all natural snow. It just dumped
it actually snowed there? Because it didn't snow here at all.
Hunter Mountain, like I said, we drove up there in the new car, and there's no snow, and you hit a line, and there's just a foot of real snow after that. So great, one of the best skiing days that mountain's had in a decade. This weekend on Friday, it's going to be 50 degrees Fahrenheit and pouring rain up there. So the entire mountain.
Right, because like I said, it's right before the cold comes in. It's going to be warm. Warm for winter, right? So on Thursday.
If it had just gotten cold, Hunter Mountain would turn from snowy to still snowy. But instead, it's going to be 50 degrees for one day. Everything's going to melt. And then over the course of that day, it's going to drop from 49 to 7. And it's going to freeze.
If it's still wet, it'll make a sheet of ice.
It's going to make a sheet of ice, and it's going to be like normal Hunter Mountain, like what I'm used to skiing on.
Let's go ice skating instead if it's a sheet of ice.
Not that you care about skis, but, like bikes, there's different like bike profiles. Like you ride a different kind of bike for different things. So the skis I use, because we live in the East and I ski at Hunter Mountain, they're basically ice skates. The sides of them are like razor blades.
Yeah, but the ice skate's the bottom is a razor blade.
Yeah, so when I'm skiing on ice, what you do is I'm edging, so only the side of the ski is actually touching anything. So it's basically an ice skate on one side.
Why not just wear a skate so you don't got to turn your foot sideways?
There are reasons why that wouldn't actually work, and there are specialty types of things that kind of can do that. The problem is the skate would still have to be 160 to 180 centimeters long to be able to hold an edge on that much slope. It's not like ice skating straight. Imagine ice skating on a 40-degree incline.
Anyway.
You don't want to point those things straight down. So
it's been so long since we did a Wednesday show, so I got an old news, but it was an important news.
It is.
It was like 9 days ago, right? If you don't know, there was a person, a very important person, right?
You may know this person as the emperor of anime songs, or the voice in a lot of old robot show, and like you'll see, like you've definitely heard this person before.
Yeah. So Ichiro Mizuki, who was basically like one of the most famous singers of anime music of all time, right? All the old,
Like all the Messengers,
right?
Kamen Riders, Voltron.
Right? It's like, this is the guy who sang all these legendary anime songs, and he was old and sick. He was, 74?
Yep.
And he passed away. And it was sad times because, not only was this guy just, a guy who sang old anime songs. There's a lot of people who sung anime theme songs, right? Not only did he sing the legendary ones, right? But he was all about it, even later in life, right? It's like he was always appearing and singing this, like he was into it. He was doing it for the fans, right? It's like he wasn't just like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I did that back in the day, right? And now I'm doing something else.
Yep, like
right?
that is just that was a gig. I'm not the anime guy. I just did anime.
Right.
This guy was just like, I'm the anime guy.
He embraced it. He's like, this is who I am. I am the guy who sang the legendary anime songs, and I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep doing that and love doing that for the people, right? And I wish more people had that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So
be great in your niche. Be good to your fans. Enjoy what you do. If you have the luck to have a job that is something you like. And this is a loss to the world of music. I particularly like this style of singing, maybe because I grew up on a lot of anime. In some other news, I don't have a news, but I have a Geek Bite, because as you all know, the Dragon Prince, the animated Netflix show, that was pretty good. Scott watched a bunch. Pretty sure we did a Geek Nights episode on it. And it had 3 seasons, and then it got there was a debate or a delay on finding out whether or not it would be continued, which was not necessarily guaranteed, because Netflix has a spotty history of investing.
Nothing's guaranteed. It's like, even though we now think it's guaranteed, they could change their fucking minds, right?
Yep. So basically, the Dragon Prince ended at a point where that could have been the end, at the end of season 3. Like, they meet the Dragon Queen and stuff gets resolved. But we do know they continued the show, supposedly, to make all of the originally planned seasons, but in the very least, season 4, will complete and is out there, and we can just watch it, and I've watched all of it that's come out up to this point. And I gotta say, it's actually, sadly, a little disappointing. It's very uneven. If I had to just review Dragon Prince from the first 3 seasons, it's a solid kid's show. Not quite as good as Avatar, which I think is a much better overall show, just in terms of all the different aspects you could rate it on. But Dragon Prince was solid. Great character designs, okay animation, good voice acting. It had a lot going for it. We were into it. And it was pretty consistent at being what it was. I gotta say, the new season of Dragon Prince, it does not start strong. The dialogue is written really badly. Scenes just sort of repeat and loop over and over and over again. Nothing. There's almost a whole episode where just nothing happens, but side characters making quips. The writing just gets weird and off character, and characters do things that don't really make sense. Even from a lazy kid show writing perspective, they just feel off. And this culminates where in one of the Discords I'm in, I think our Discord, but I've seen this in a few other places. Before I watched season 4, people kept saying, yeah, watch out for those elf farts. Oh yeah, Dragon Prince, way more elf farts than you asked for. And I assumed there would be like an off moment with an elf farting. Like I figured there was like that with the people were
probably a running joke of constant elf farting.
It's not a joke is the thing that is like there is a joke about elf farts, but elf farts just sort of keep coming up in a canonical and lore-driven way. Canonically, a certain kind of elf's fart smells like petrichor, and this continues to come up. And there are other elements like this that just feel off and weird. And honestly, the first like 4 or 5 episodes of the new Dragon Prince, as a result, kind of a slog. Like the writing is almost below the line where I would even continue.
I think this might be one of those situations. Usually when this kind of thing happens, it's because there might be some sort of production change of some kind. Right?
Yep.
I would go looking at the credits and see like, are there new people? Did they split some work between some studios?
Yep. Did they compress the writing, like the time frames to make episodes? Did they try to do a South Park, but they don't have a team that's paid enough to do a South Park?
There must be some sort of production-related behind-the-scenes explanation for a quality decrease of that nature. Right?
Especially because
it seems likely.
It's so uneven. Like there will be perfectly cromulent, like normal scenes that are great and awesome Dragon Viz, and then like the next scene will just really not feel right or like break the pacing or not fit into what had happened into the episode up to that point. Like it'll rocket back and forth between almost too much gravitas and whatever the opposite of gravitas is, like scene by scene. And I don't know. I'm going to keep watching it to the end, season 4, but I'm not super inclined to continue beyond that if this continues. The only reason I'm going to watch to the end, though, is that you can almost kind of skip a lot of what happens in the first few episodes of season 4, but it does just pick up where the show left off and is heading headlong into the mysteries that were left unanswered at the end of season 3, like where's Dad and what's up with the other dragons and all that kind of stuff.
We know that.
Yep. And it does just keep going.
They tell you that in like the first episode.
They do. But the other thing that, I don't know, what I'm disappointed by is that the pattern that seems to be emerging is whenever the non-human characters are doing their biz, it's great. And then whenever it goes back to the human characters, everything's boring or uncharacteristic. So if you're in this show,
what about the cool ant or whatever?
Oh yeah, they're all fine. Everyone's fine except the main human and humanoid characters, which are just kind of plotting and off model in terms of how they act and behave and speak. And we'll see. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend the show based on how it has progressed so far compared to the first 3 seasons.
They have the deal ostensibly for 8 seasons, I think, right?
7 was what I thought, but it might be 8. I don't remember.
I don't know. It was some like, and this is like, hey, first of all, like I said before, it could get canceled before that.
So they got renewed for 3 more seasons. So this one and 2 more is what they are currently officially renewed for if nothing changes.
All right. But, the point is like, hey, even if it goes the number of seasons they said, it's like, that's good. It's a limited show. It's going to end and have an ending.
Yep.
Right? But it's like, there's still a such thing as too long, right? It's like we talk about like, oh yeah, it's much better to have a show that's, has a beginning, middle, end than one that goes forever.
Yep.
And that's true. But even if you have that ending, it's like, you could still be too long, right? It's like,
well, I mean, look at the Hobbit movies are a good example. Like the Hobbit. If you made a single standalone movie to cover The Hobbit, it'd either have to be too long, you have to cut too much out. Maybe if you made 2 movies, that would probably work. Making 4 movies was a terrible idea.
I thought they made 3.
Wasn't the 3rd movie? I'm pretty sure there were 4.
I think there's 3.
I only saw 2, and I just gave up. Yep, there are. Oh, God, how long is that 3rd one? God damn.
Yeah, there's 3 long. It's basically 3 long movies.
Yep, I watched 2 and I gave up.
Like The Hobbit is 1 book. The Lord of the Rings is 3 big books, which I'm pretty sure any one of the 3 Lord of the Rings volumes is bigger than The Hobbit. And then The Hobbit, movie-wise, is just as long as the Lord of the Rings movies.
I remember the thing I was most annoyed by is the first Hobbit movie ends like 3/4, maybe even 4/5 through the Hobbit book.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So the one example that sort of really crystallizes what's going on with the Dragon Prince now is there's a scene where they
talk about this Dragon Prince.
Oh, I'm killing time. But so they meet another dragon, like one of the other king super serious dragons, and they know some stuff. So they go in, and there's a really actually pretty cool, like Lord of the Rings style adventure. If we're gonna go deep, deep, deep to meet the dragon that doesn't want to fucking talk to anyone, who's super dangerous, and that's all really great. But then they meet the dragon, and the dragon is animated super cool. And instead of leading this conversation with, hey, ancient king of dragons, here's a bunch of information you should know about the outside world that you will definitely react to, they have a bunch of completely worthless, like 15 minutes of conversation that means nothing and goes nowhere. And then when the dragon decides to just kill them because they're wasting his time, that's when they reveal the information that, like, if you and I were there, would have said instantly. Like, yo, dragon guy, the other dragon's dead, and the humans did some shit, and they're going to release the bad guy. It's that kind of mistake that is dragging the show into the ground. You get to see a good temper tantrum with that dragon, though, so that's almost worth it. Anyway, things of the day. So, in Bob's Burgers, the show, there is a Thanksgiving episode. You know, they do holiday episodes just like any American cartoon on TV would. Like The Simpsons always had the holiday episodes. And in the Thanksgiving episode, two of the characters make up and perform a Thanksgiving song. They try to make a Thanksgiving song that would be on the level of a Christmas song during Christmas. And it's pretty funny. So what this, my thing is,
Sandler already did that.
Oh, yeah. So there aren't that many Thanksgiving songs compared to Christmas songs.
We don't need them.
Yeah. So they make this gravy song about gravy boats. This video, my thing of the day, is some fan or someone took this joke throwaway song that takes up maybe 45 to 90 seconds of an episode of Bob's Burgers, and they sang it seriously and made a music video to it.
Okay.
So what do you got?
Another anime music news, right? While we're on that train, right? So the voice actor of Minmay in the original Macross TV series is Mari Iijima. Right?
Yep.
And she also sang a bunch of the music. Pretty much anytime Minmay was singing, it was her singing. Right?
I want to say she came to Anime Boston as a guest several times.
We saw her at Anime Boston. She did a concert at Anime Boston. We were there.
Yep.
I
want to say she was.
Time.
I'm pretty sure she was there multiple years.
I don't think it was more than one time.
I think it was 2 times skimming. Anyway.
She performed at Anime Boston. We were there. But anyway, apparently, right, she's been signed to, like, I guess the same, or at least I don't know if she's still on the same record label, but the record label that she was signed to in the early 80s, which is Victor or something, Victor Entertainment, right? On their official YouTube channel, they uploaded a bunch of music videos from her in like 1980 something. It's like music videos that, you know, basically were not available unless maybe some nerd had them somewhere. But,
yeah,
you know, this is shit from the vault, right? It's not shit.
Like prior to this, you probably, if you even knew these existed and like saw them, it was probably because someone old ran a panel at an anime con somewhere and happened to have them.
You could hear all this music, including, you know, the songs from DYRL and I guess her other music, right? You could get her albums, no problem. But there were music videos for these things made, you know, these music videos are about as old as we are, 82, 83, 84. And I don't think they were available easily. And now they're just on YouTube and you can just watch them.
Not bad.
And so that's a thing of the day.
In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book, Alif the Unseen. We're definitely doing this show in January. This book is
like 60 or 70% done now.
Yep, I am powering through it. I like it. I got thoughts. Definitely going to read the other book by this author. But I got to read The World We Make at some point. So maybe in between the two, we'll do a little... Not another book club episode, but I'm sure we'll both read that world pretty quick. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, do a little special. But if you're reading along with us, read Alif the Unseen, because by the end of January, we're going to do the book club episode. I guarantee it, unless something unforeseen happens. Otherwise, I guess we'll likely be at PAX East for a panel or two. Don't expect us to be there hanging out, like playing games for the whole weekend. 4-day con, still a little early for that maybe for us. We will not be at MagFest this year. A few people we know will be, but we will not be. And otherwise, just watch for our stuff on the internet. Follow us in all the places you can find us. Don't rely on Twitter to find out when Geek Nights is live, because who knows how long that shit's going to last.
Yep, and I guess... I don't know. We're gonna have how many Geek Nights we gonna have here? I guess I don't see anything interfering next week, even though it's a holiday week.
I'm taking most of the week off work because I have use 'em or lose 'em vacation days, and
probably not a New Year's Day Geek Nights.
Yeah, probably not. Really, are the traditional Geek Nights holiday hiatus is probably going to be in January, because the second week of January I got to go to Frankfurt for work, and the fourth week of January ish. I'm going to be in Colorado for a week, so we're going to miss at least half the episodes in January.
All right, but it looks like December is good.
Yeah.
If we have ideas for shows.
Send your ideas to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com, or, I don't know, mash your hand on the keyboard and type Geek Nights show episode something, and you'll probably find a way to contact us.
Okay.
All right. Put a little marker there. So a while ago in 2019, we did an episode on not the Charlie Brown Christmas, but It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, a Halloween special. We haven't actually, as Scott pointed out, ever done a show on like the animated Christmas or even general holiday specials across the board.
Well, so, back in the day when TV was still a thing, there was, I want to say, I'm not 100% sure on this, right? But the Charlie Brown one, the Christmas special, was like one of the earliest ones, like the early 60s, and especially in terms of animated ones. And it sort of, I guess, gave, maybe there was some other non-animated one earlier. I don't know. But
yeah, well, that one
had this idea like, hey, make a special thing with a big budget, bigger than regular, right? That's a one-time deal. It's not quite a movie, but, a special television program.
So I want to point out the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stop motion was a year before the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Ooh, so maybe that one. But the point is, it's still...
Don't think I'm an expert at this. Scott and I have the same Wikipedia tabs open.
Yeah, but regardless... They made, it was a thing on television, right, to put a big budget into a production that was real fancy compared to the rest of television. For a holiday special, you had a good excuse, right? People are home, they're not working, right? And you put it on TV once a year. It's on, if you put it on your network because your network has the rights to it. And then people only got one chance a year to see it, and that's it. And it's a special deal, so you can sell big ads on it, and you can just keep showing the same thing year after year because it was such a big budget. It ages well. It's about holidays. There's nothing, temporal about it.
Yep.
Right?
They can always be standalone in a way that even if it's a special in the middle of some other long-running thing, you don't have to worry about people like having a ton of context. They can be pretty standalone. I saw a lot of Christmas specials over the years to things that I otherwise had never watched, like that Kimagure Orange Road anime special.
But, and for some people who keep seeing it every year, it becomes like a tradition, a special treat of like, ooh, I get to watch the thing once a year, and there's no other way for me to see it because VHS doesn't even exist yet, right?
Yep.
And it's
granted, even when VHS existed, I remember as a kid, we would watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer special every year, either on TV or on a VHS because we had taped it off of TV.
Yeah. So for some people, it was a tradition, right? But it's like this, like we just said, Charlie Brown Christmas special was from what, the 60s, right?
Yep.
It's like, but I didn't see it until the 80s. And for the first time, it was already 20-something years old.
Yep. I mean, I know my parents showed it to us when we were kids because they had seen it many, many years earlier, and it was part of their culture.
And now it's 60-something years old, and I think you can watch it on Apple TV Plus now, right? I don't know if it's still, I'm sure it's still on TV if anyone still has that.
I'm pretty sure you can just watch it on like a random YouTube channel that uploaded it.
Maybe. I think they're all the Charlie Brown stuff, at least that specifically, is an Apple TV Plus.
Nah. Apple TV.
Regardless, the it's like you have these specials, not just the Charlie Brown ones, but all kinds of them, right? People kept doing this, right? They kept trying to make holiday specials, hoping that there were already these established ones that were showing year after year, bringing in ratings, bringing in money that didn't cost any additional money to the TV network because it was paid for so long ago and copyright terms were long. So TV networks kept trying to make more of these all the time.
I want to point out the Flintstones Christmas special was also 1964, before the Charlie Brown one.
Oh, okay. But the Flintstones one didn't hold that long.
Yeah, I am pretty sure I have seen that special, but I do not remember
details from it.
I do not remember anything from it. Literally nothing. But I'm pretty sure I saw it as a kid.
I must have seen it, but yeah, I remember nothing from it.
Skimming through this list, at least in America, animated Christmas specials seem to have started in 1964 with a ton of them. That was the year that they all started getting made. There are a few before that, but that is the year that has the most.
Like a Howdy Doody one? Like what's older, right?
Well, let's see. So Disney, 58, they had one that was not super well known, and then everything else was like 80s.
TV one. We're not talking about movies or, because there have been holiday movies since forever, right?
Yeah, we're not talking about holiday movies.
Life or whatever.
Let's see. From all of us to all of you is an animated television Christmas special produced by Walt Disney that aired in 1958 on ABC. So
okay,
that might be the first one of note in America.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know the history of it. All I know is that it's a thing. Right. And so even if, you didn't celebrate whatever holiday, if you watch TV and were a kid in the United States, you saw a bunch of these, and some of them you saw every year, and some of them you saw once, and then you could never see them again. It was very difficult until you remembered them in your old age and looked them up on YouTube, and there they are because someone saved them. And there's a whole bunch of them, right? There's all these Christmas specials. Now there's a thing, you got to separate the idea of the Christmas special from just the Christmas episode.
Yeah,
right?
for example,
pretty much any TV show, absolutely any TV show whatsoever, right? Animated or otherwise, that is a long-running TV show. When it got to the holiday times, it had a holiday episode. Or more than one, right? There's Simpsons holiday episodes, right? There's freaking Seinfeld.
Yep.
Cheers. Fucking, I'm sure there's ones of
every show, Saved by the Bell, literally didn't matter. But to your point, a Christmas episode just takes place during Christmas, but has the tropes plus the tropes of the show it's in, plus a selection of the grab bag of Christmas tropes that exist out there. The Christmas special.
See a holiday episode of a show broadcast outside of the holiday season, just during syndication and reruns. It's just another episode.
The listener actually just pointed out in the live stream that living in the UK, all the American Christmas specials just aired in syndication whenever. They were just an episode, like every other episode.
Well, but I mean, if it's something like,
so they'd see them for the first time in July.
But if it's a special, there wasn't a TV show to go with it usually, right? It's like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion one. It's that's not just an episode that syndicates. That's a special one-shot deal. It's not an episode of...
But the He-Man Christmas special is definitely a Christmas special as opposed to just a holiday episode, because the main trope, I would say, that differentiates the special is it comes more from the tradition of old-time live-action or radio ensemble Christmas specials, where you get a bunch of people together, usually some celebrities. They're almost more like variety shows, and they tend to be non-canonical, as opposed to the episode that happens within a show that, I guess the Christmas episodes of Saved by the Bell are part of the Saved by the Bell canon, but the He-Man Christmas special is not part of the canon, because that's He-Man and She-Ra, and Skeletor's a good guy, and there's those two kids that you never see again. But in the UK, that would just be...
Not every Christmas special is a thing that had a show to begin with.
That is true.
It's there's this one that I remember a lot for some reason from when I was young that I wasn't able to get any information on until I Googled it. And basically it was this California Raisins one, right?
I don't remember this thing at all. I don't think I ever saw this until you told me about it, and I found it on YouTube.
So if people don't know about the California raisins, just really quickly, the raisin people, the people in California who grow grapes and turn them into raisins, right? Were making advertisements for raisins the same way as dairy farmers have their got milk commercials, right? And what happened is they struck gold, right? They got this guy, Will Vinton. Pretty much all the claymation that you saw in the 80s and possibly early 90s, that when claymation was a big deal, was by this Will Vinton guy. He was the claymation master. And they had to make a commercial with his California raisins singing Heard It Through the Grapevine, a song from, the Motown days.
Yep.
Right? Which was it was an old song, but that was the first time I heard that song, and it's a great song.
I remember after that was seeing that commercial as a kid, and then when Grandpa got out one of his old 45s that had the actual song on it, and my kid brain was like, that's a real song, it's not from a cartoon. And then Grandpa was like, here is a pile of records, you're about to learn about music.
Right. But it's I went out and I actually bought California Raisins cassette tape, which was effectively a compilation album of a whole bunch of songs. It wasn't, but anyway. But they had a Will Vinton's Claymation Christmas celebration, and I actually, for some reason, my shitty memory remembers this thing, and I think the reason I had a memory of it was for two reasons. Reason number one is because for some reason, when I was a kid, I really wanted to watch it. I guess maybe commercials advertising that it was going to be on hyped me up, and I tried to watch it. And B, I failed to successfully watch all of it. Right? It was never on again, and so that lingered. And secondly, the whole point of this thing, it was much like what Rim suggested. It's one of those ensemble deals, right? Where it's basically a bunch of really short bits all strung together, right? By this one framing bit of two claymation dinosaurs having a Christmas celebration in the middle of a claymation town.
And that's sort of the common, the animated specials, because we're focused on the animated specials, they tend to follow that pattern of it's either a clip show with the framing story or it's a standalone, non-canonical, mini movie.
Yep. So this is a bunch of tiny claymation bits strung together, and they're strung together with this running joke, and the running joke has to do with the Here We Come a Wassailing song, right? Which, to me, at the time, was a song I hadn't heard before, right? And I guess it got stuck in my head. The running joke is that, at the beginning of the special, that song, right? At the beginning of the special, they come with the Here We Come a Waffling, and then they come back again with, basically everyone keeps getting the song wrong, right? In between the bits. And then at the end, after the California Raisins have appeared, which is the climax, finally, here's the part you really want. Right? And right at the end,
holding the big celebrity for the final act at the music festival.
And then after the Raisins, they get the song right, and then that's the end, right? But now seeing the thing on YouTube, which is all on YouTube,
yep.
The YouTube video includes the contemporary actual commercial breaks. If you take the commercial breaks out, the entirety of this thing has to be 15 to 20 minutes. There is not much. It's with the ads, it's not even 30 minutes. So there was not much here to this thing, but this is, a perfect example of this is what those holiday specials were like. The infamous Star Wars one was sort of the oddball in being long and terrible.
Yep.
Right? If that thing was 30 minutes, it would probably be great and remembered fondly.
Because, the He-Man and She-Ra joint Christmas where Skeletor's a good guy and there's a weird dog and two self-insert generic kids, it's awful, but it's within the bounds of awfulness that regular He-Man and She-Ra had. So as a kid, it was just great. But kids who saw the Star Wars special, even kids who were into Star Wars were like, Dad, what the fuck was that?
Yep. But anyway, so the ones that had the staying power, right, were the ones that didn't have that sort of structure, which is really interesting to me because it's hey, they kept making ones with that framing, clip show structure, but they're presumably were trying to make something that had staying power that they could reuse and make a lot of money off of in the long run. The claymation wasn't cheap to do. That's why there wasn't that many minutes of it, right? So, but they didn't really get to reuse that one that much, did they? Right? But the Rudolph one they got to reuse. Frosty the Snowman, the movie, quote, movie, they got to reuse that one a whole bunch.
That Frosty the Snowman from 1969, I think we definitely watched that multiple times a Christmas. Yeah. Every year we'd watch it. It's so sad when he melts and you assume he's dead. Spoilers, Santa's also God and brings him back to life.
Yep. But it's like, it's like the animation of that for 1969, it's like you would think that was a regular episode of animation from the 90s because they spent so much money on it in the 60s.
Yeah, that Frosty the Snowman looks great.
It looks great because they spent a bunch of money animating it, and then they just showed the same damn thing over and over again to get their money's worth, right? But those ones, the ones that succeeded, did not have that structure of the framing story with the separate bits. They were a whole contained story, right? Rudolph is a whole story.
Yeah.
Peanuts is a whole story.
And I would say Rudolph
with a really sad Christmas tree that has like one branch with any greenery on.
So the Rudolph one, the staying power is that it's a good legitimate story that it goes deeper into the lore of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer than most other depictions of Rudolph do. And for a lot of kids who saw it as their first introduction to Rudolph, I think it set for them like what Rudolph is like and what that story is about and what that song is about. Like for my little kid brain, that was the canon Rudolph, and anything else was an imposter. The Charlie Brown one.
I learned recently that it was actually made in Japan. It was outsourced mostly to Japan,
and it looks phenomenal. That stop motion is so good.
But the actual artifacts from the production are not in great shape, hard to find, not mostly around. There was a whole thing. I got to find the link again, talking about how it was made and whatnot.
I mean, there are multiple documentaries on like the production process and like the financing and the commercial history of this thing.
Here it is, The Complicated Man Who Made Rudolph.
Oh, it got a remaster. They rescanned it and cleaned it up from the original 35mm back in 2005. Because the copy we watched over and over again was like a VHS copy of a VHS copy that was recorded from TV. The Charlie Brown one set so many pop culture tropes in America. That sad Christmas tree, everyone knows that Christmas tree. It introduced multiple Christmas songs into the lexicon of Christmas music in America.
The music was a different thing, right? So what happened was, I've actually read this story on the internet recently. Right?
Yep. The music in it has a whole dedicated Wikipedia article.
Right. So there was a guy who was trying to make a documentary about Peanuts, right? Because Peanuts was a big deal in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Right? It's big enough to already have a documentary, even though there were still decades of Peanuts yet to come.
I mean, in the late 80s, I read Peanuts in the newspaper, and my parents were like, that's not the real Peanuts. And they had the old, effectively trade paperbacks of like original Peanuts.
I read those trade paperbacks. They were in my school. They were in my elementary school library.
We owned them all. My parents had the entire run of Peanuts in like yellowed, brittle trade paperbacks.
I think Fantagraphics might publish them if you want to buy them. And
we have pretty much every Mad magazine from the beginning to like 1980.
But anyway, there was someone trying to make a Peanuts documentary, and in the course of making the documentary, that guy hooked up with Vince Guaraldi.
Yep.
Right? And Vince Guaraldi wrote the song, right? The Linus and Lucy song is the main one people know.
Yep. But that Christmas Time Is Here song is the one that like everyone remembers now.
Well, that's the Christmassy one, right?
Yeah.
But the Linus and Lucy song is the Peanutsy song, right? So the guy heard that, Vince Guaraldi wrote that song. The producer guy heard it and was like, that's it. That's the fucking Peanuts song. It was obvious to even him at the time, right, that was the song that was perfect to go with Peanuts. The documentary didn't happen, right? Because otherwise we would have seen it. But a year after that documentary fell through, they made the Christmas special. He calls up Vince and he's like, Vince, I need the music again, right? Let's go, right? And that's how it happened. And then that music, it wasn't like, I was never, the reason I looked this up is because I wasn't, sure. I was like, did Vince just, in his trio, did they make that music independently and then it happened to get co-opted like the California Raisins? Or did he write the music for... No, he wrote the music for Peanuts. That was the original, right?
And I just want to point out,
deal.
The album for like that music, the album that debuted that music officially as far as like music being released into the wild on vinyl is concerned, it went quintuple platinum. As of 2022, it has sold 5 million copies.
Sell to be quintuple platinum? Millions?
5 million.
5 million. That's
it is the
1960 something. That's
it is the 10th best-selling Christmas or holiday album in the United States ever during the SoundScan era.
Yeah,
because what music is popular is very hard to determine in the current era.
Well, let's see how many streams Spotify claims it has.
That would be interesting to see.
According to...
I mean, I listened to this like 5 times.
If you go to Spotify and you find the album, A Charlie Brown Christmas 2012 Remastered and Expanded Edition, and you look at the track titled Christmas Time Is Here Vocal, right, as opposed to the instrumental one, it has, according to Spotify, 129 million and a half a million plays.
All right.
As of right now.
That sounds about right.
Plays.
I mean, I listened to it a few times today at work while I was working on stuff. I fucking love this album.
Right. Let's compare that to... Okay. So let's look at Drake, one of the most popular living musicians, period, right? Drake's hittest of hit songs have, more. Okay. 350 million plays. So Drake's only ahead of Vince by 2x, right? So half a Drake. That's still pretty up there.
Yep. And I think we talked about this once a long time ago in a different context, but when we talked about Home Alone, but it is rare in America to introduce a brand new Christmas song that becomes a Christmas classic. Like, it happens, and it happens pretty regularly.
The last one I can think of is Mariah Carey.
I was about to say, that's the last one I can think of. But Vince Guaraldi and Peanuts did it. The Home Alone movie did it. There's not many things that can say they added a new canonical, popularly known, like, classic Christmas song to the American lexicon.
Now, the thing is, I'd say, they're not making these Christmas specials anymore.
Well, they definitely are.
They definitely are, actually. There's a lot of, like, popular recent-ish ones. I think there's, like, a Shrek one, and there might be a Frozen one, I think. There's, like, a Olaf Frozen one, I think.
This isn't relevant to this show, and I'm going to use this as the thing of the day on another episode, but did you see the thing with the Hallmark movie where they released the same movie twice?
No.
They made a Christmas special, one of those throwaway Hallmark movies about like two sisters. It's called like Sister Swap something. So there's 2 movies that were released, Sister Swap and like Sister Swap Christmas something. They are literally the same movie. Just they did the same principal photography from the same script, and then they're just edited slightly differently, and they just released them as 2 separate movies.
Same actors?
Same actors, same scenes. The scenes are just in a slightly different order, and like some of the dialogue is cut or shortened or moved around. It's like they just Warrior of the Winded this movie into 2 different versions. And Dan Harmon...
Most people would never see both, so why not?
Yeah, Dan Harmon was like, I watched these movies because I thought Hallmark tried to make a Sister Swap universe, and I wanted to see what the canon was of this universe, and what I discovered was so terrifying that I have to tell you all.
But yeah, no, the point is there are new ones, and I think they are a hit with the people who are watching them. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, the ones we remember...
The quality levels are up, right? Because they are still getting a larger budget, right? It's like they spent more money on, this than like some episode of a TV. But the thing that I think that's basically changed is that no matter how good any of these are that anyone makes today, even though they might make some phenomenal ones... right? They are going to have a hard time making one that becomes some sort of, enduring tradition, because you can just watch them whenever the fuck you want. You can watch them 10 times, right? It's like there isn't that sort of you can only watch this on the holiday, whole family gathers around every holiday, unless the family brings the intent on their own initiative.
Now I have a question for you because I don't know the answer to this. 2 generations from now, will the staying power of the old ones that people like us imprinted on because we grew up pre-streaming and pre-digital, will that just disappear and it's just a long tail of Christmassy stuff?
I think it will. I don't think it will disappear, but I think what will happen is it will basically go down to the level of the other ones because they're just going, like I said, the Peanuts ones are on Apple TV Plus, right?
Yep.
All of them. So you still, nowadays, if you're going to have a new family and you're going to watch that, you need that initiative, the same initiative to watch the Shrek one or the Frozen one.
Yep.
So to watch, they're all on even.
So we're going to break up along the cultural lines of what streaming services do parents pay for every given year.
Does your family have, and then how old are the parents who are sitting the kids down to watch?
Yep.
Do the kids even care?
Like, I am confident my brother is showing my 2 young nephews the Peanuts Christmas thing.
Right.
I am confident that is happening.
It's like, all right, so if millennials are showing whatever millennial children are, Peanuts ones, right? It's like, are those kids going to also show their kids the Peanuts one after we're dead? Or, right, will they not, right? Well, it's like,
yep.
Are they, so that's what's going to happen. But you got to assume over time it can only fade. How can it pick up steam? I don't see any way for it to grow. I only see a way for it to fade.
Well, also, Christmas specials get bucketed because if I think about all the ones I remembered, there's only 2 categories. The only ones that get remembered and talked about are the ones that are so bad they're notable, or the ones that are legitimate platinum classics for all time.
Yep.
Nothing in between gets remembered.
Mm-hmm. But I think, thankfully, it seems like that quite a bunch of these, even strange, obscure, unknown, weird ones, there does seem to be, somewhat okay preservation of them. Like I saw a lot just on YouTube.
Yep.
I've seen, you saw the big one, Rudolph got restored, right? It's like because the budgets on the originals were good and they were shown, or at least were intended to be shown year after year, right? I think there was, we're not losing these, even ones from, the 60s. I'm sure some have been lost.
I mean, the He-Man one is up on the official YouTube channel for Masters of the Universe, legitimately.
Yeah, it's like just from an outside perspective, it seems like the preservation of these specials in particular is greater relative to the preservation of other, media of the same time periods.
Yep.
Right. So whichever ones people want to choose will be available to them.
Yep. So of the American cartoons that aren't a classic of all time standalone, like the Rudolph one or the thing with the Snow Miser, I think the 2 types, just as I look through this list, are either the ensemble clip show like we discussed, or the other very common one that is, I think, the most common among the shows we forget about, are the, oh no, something happened to Santa. Fred Flintstone has to save. Oh no, something happened to Santa. Inspector Gadget has to save the day. Like, it's that specific story. Something happened to Santa. Someone else has to do Santa's job. They succeed.
It's either something happened to Santa or something happened to, Christmas looks like it's going to be miserable. We don't have food. We don't have presents. Something is bad. And then, people who were nice are mean. But then at the end of the episode, even the villains are nice, right?
Even Skeletor saves the kids and gets licked by the puppy at the end of the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, which is fascinating because canonically, the next episode after that, he resumes trying to commit genocide.
Right. It's like even, Jetsons, right? It's like even Mr. Spacely becomes generous like a, fucking Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Right. So.
You also get very often the trope that's so American of Santa's not necessarily real. It was the spirit and whatever. But then there's a thing that happens at the end where like someone's like, but isn't that Santa right up there? And you get a cameo of real Santa.
Yep. The very final second of the whatever it is always, real Santa. Wink, wink. The end.
So interestingly, anime has a very strong tradition of Christmas episodes too, and I pulled up a bunch to remember them, to talk about them on this show episode of Geek Nights. And what I would say is, if you look at all the anime Christmas specials, they're very similar, but they have their own set of tropes that are not the American tropes. They almost always have a character dresses up as Santa, but nobody's fooled. Like, they're not trying to fool anyone. They're usually love stories. Like, all the ones I could find that I remembered are, the plot is primarily characters who are having an on-again, off-again, or some sort of romantic situation in the regular show have a moment or almost get together or resolve some piece of that during the Christmas episode. Like, they go out to dinner. There's the Ranma one, the KOR one.
A lot. Yeah, the other thing that happens a lot is it's just a normal old episode of the show. It's not like but it happens to include something Christmassy in it, right? Like, you'll have Messenger, which we already talked about earlier in the show, right? But it's like, there are other robot shows I've seen, or, sports shows where it's like, yep, it's just an episode of the show. It fits right in with the rest of the show, but it happens to take place during Christmas, right? It's a sports anime, and they battle in the snow, or there's a robot dressed as Santa Claus.
Yep. But then you've got like Kimagure Road or Tenchi, or like a lot of those Ranma where the Christmas episode.
Well, the Ranma one was like a special Christmas OVA, right? It wasn't just a regular old episode.
There's a couple different Ranma Christmases depending on what we're talking about, but the specials seem to often do something that wasn't in the manga if a show was based on the manga, and like push a romance further than the rest of the show ever did, usually never to be spoken of again in the next episode. And there's a few that are set in a Christmas-like thing. Like the Sailor Moon S movie just happens to be set during Christmas, but it's just a Sailor Moon movie. There's the Tenchi Muyo, the second movie, just happens to be set during Jurian holiday that is functionally identical to Christmas.
There's the Big O Christmas.
Oh God, yeah, the Big O Christmas. But the Big O Christmas is deeply canonical direct plot continuance.
Exactly. It's it's like it's a really good Christmas episode, but it's like it's just it's not like super it's not like a Christmas special, right?
Yeah.
It's just an episode of the show, and it takes place during Christmas, and Christmas matters a lot to the episode, both figuratively and whatever, and literally. But it doesn't stand alone as like some Christmas special with this Christmas formula or whatever, right?
So yeah, if you have never seen some of these animated shows that we talk about, I'd say it is absolutely worth your while, no matter who you are, to watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special if you never have, and to watch the stop-motion animated Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer if you never had. Like, if nothing else,
it's like the enduring ones endured for a reason. Like they have quality to them, right?
Yep.
The Frosty Ant one.
The Frosty one. Don't actually watch the Skeletor He-Man Christmas. It is not actually good.
You don't actually need to watch the Claymation one or the Star Wars one or whatever, unless you're just the kind of person who likes watching weird old animated things.
Yep.
Right.
But like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Impressed by the claymation technique or something.
If Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer were just on TV, it never existed before, and appeared this Christmas, I think it would be extremely popular.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. Easy show.